Radio Netherlands, the Dutch International Service presents Dutch Concert Rostrum. Your host is Bob Ellis.
That Gustav Holst was one of the most popular English composers of the early 20th century is well known. The piece that brought his first fame is also quite well known, The Planets. Now, what's not so well known is the fact that Gustav Holst slipped in the year 1923 from a concert podium while conducting a concert of his students at University College, Reading, and fell on the back of his head. Surely this must be every conductor's nightmare, to actually fall backwards off the podium. He suffered only a mild concussion, luckily, and was to go on many more years composing. His fall from the podium occurred in February 1923, and on May 14th of the same year, the premiere of his opera The Perfect Fool took place in Covent Garden. Those looking for a possible connection between the title of the opera and the regrettable event of several months earlier will, I'm afraid, be disappointed. Holst composed the piece between 1918 and 1922. What you're about to hear is a suite of 3 ballet movements from the opera: the dances of the earth spirits, the water spirits, and the fire spirits, respectively. Kenneth Montgomery conducts the Netherlands Radio Orchestra.
And we might truncate this performance at this point because it keeps going. This is incidental music from The Perfect Fool by Gustav Holst. It's a Radio Netherlands transcription record. I just discovered a stack of these. I think Jamie brought them over. These are really quite interesting. And but it wasn't tracking terribly well. I'm not sure what's going on there. I might have to review the starter situation. Anyhow,
Good afternoon.
And hello to you, Mr. OP. How are you?
Very well. I enjoy a bit of Holst.
Yeah, great orchestral writer he is. Yeah, it's fab music. I really like it. I was getting into it, and yeah, I thought I'd probably have to choose a moment to fade. I was listening for another upbeat section.
It's kind of movie thematic, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Holst influenced.
Exactly right, it is.
Yeah, he influenced a lot of movie composers. People like John Williams were really influenced by Holst. His orchestration.
Now I kind of, thought, I can see where a bit of Indiana Jones soundtrack came from.
Yes, you can certainly hear overtones of Hollywood epics reflected in Holst's music. I wonder if he did write music for the movies. He was certainly writing in the 30s, so probably did. A lot of them did. Shostakovich did. But, it's great music.
He wrote a lot of stuff for the school, for his girls' school, didn't he?
Yes, he was a music teacher. He just taught in a London school. And, look, he wrote an enormous amount of music.
He wrote the St. Paul Suite for it, I think.
Oh, that's right, he did. That's a fabulous piece, the St. Paul Suite. We'll have to save that one up. I remember playing that because I used to play in a string orchestra, and the St. Paul Suite was a real favourite of our group. In fact, we took it on tour overseas, the St. Paul Suite.
Oh, very good.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
It is. It's good music.
Not to mention the good old planets, of course.
Oh, well, that's right. Oh, that's his magnum opus. And he wrote some great religious music as well.
Did he really?
He did. But anyhow, we'll have to...
Was it purely orchestral, or did he do choral stuff?
A lot of choral stuff and orchestral music primarily.
Oh, wow, okay.
And music for band. He was very sort of in the band scene, in the English band scene, the brass band scene. So he wrote a set of suites for band, and I've heard that played live here. Now we've got a member of our household who plays in bands. And it's beautiful music, very well written, very understanding the nature of timbre and the interplay between voicings and things. It's masterful. It's like Elgar's music. It's just beautifully written. He was a very self-effacing individual, Mr. Holst. He was, he could never say a good thing about himself, and he was a bit of a depressive character, but his music has shone through. Yeah, so we'll have to feature more Holst, I think. Anyhow, so welcome, gentlemen. It's good to have a sort of bit of a not exactly the most exciting day. I've been sort of shoehorned into domestic chores today. I think there's a sense that a few things needed to be done around the place, like putting doors back on hinges, and I quite like the shabby chic look. I like that return to nature, the natural decay of a house.
That's known as distressed, isn't it?
Yes, that's right. Yes, the distressed look. I don't mind things sort of slowly falling apart, but there are other members of this household who don't quite feel that way. So we've had to visit a big green store and do things. But put a door on today. Haven't done that for a long time, but we got there. And the footer match. My son's back into football. Well, young William out there, he kicked a point, and so I've got to hang out there with all these footy bogans and pretend I'm in the...
I lost 3.5 decades of weekends shooting the stuff.
I
couldn't care less.
Yes.
I've gone for years now without knowing a single result, who played in what, don't care.
Good for you. Yeah, well, I'm trying to find ways to connect with my son, and he's a footy tragic. He's obsessed. So what I found is a website with lots of old football games from the 1960s and 70s, and I like the sort of retro ambience. I like the way they did things, and it's just a feel about it that I can connect with.
A simpler coverage, built around just a couple of cameras.
That's right.
A close up and a wide shot, pretty much mostly.
Absolutely, you're spot on.
Different, apparently, from what it is now.
Yes, very much so. It's very pasty.
The bulk of the coverage still hangs. On any arena sport like that, that's the core of the coverage, a wide shot and a close-up up high.
Okay, so
And
the
then
formula
all the rest
stands.
is just the addition of, extra angles and low angles
Oh,
for
okay.
replays. But
Sure.
really, if you've got to cover something, that's the way you start.
Interesting. Yeah, well, I like sort of seeing the old stuff, and it brings back memories of having to run on the ground, because as a kid, my father worked at the football, and I was saturated. I had too much of it. And I used to collect cans, and at the end of the match, and I do remember, one thing I do remember which was quite exciting was the fact that at the end of the game, everyone ran onto the ground, and it's this sort of charge, and I thought that was a very visceral experience. So I always look for those moments at the end of try and find a last quarter of a match from 1960 Mumble and watch that with Will.
Now, people not allowed on.
You can't go on
That
and
was
pat
where
the players.
that's where the VFL, slash before that, VFA still allowed that.
Yeah, right.
And
Okay.
allowed, and then because it kind of became a bit of almost a faux reserve competition for the main game,
Ah.
so lots of people would get along and support those clubs that had affiliations with the bigger league clubs, and
I
they,
see.
they could actually get on the ground and listen to the coach's address at quarter time, and
Okay. Oh, there we go.
a much nicer experience for people that are actually into the game. It's much better value going to those games.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more sort of, I don't know, just more community bonding or something. It's more, it all seems very distant and terribly corporate the whole way it's promoted these days.
The main comp is absolutely,
Yeah.
and that's the thing I don't. I'm not into it at all, and I don't like the culture particularly.
Sure.
But I understand the value of these clubs in the community. And
Oh,
they're-
yeah.
certainly for certain people.
Yeah, community
they
hubs.
are-
Yep.
They're a place that they can call home, and
They are.
and they they get cared for by other people.
They do.
And I think they do a lot of good in that regard.
I agree. I totally agree, and I noticed that within the local club and the way that they look out for each other. And there's a dynamic there, which I think if that's your zone, you're well looked after. And I'm very happy that young William has found his place there. We all have to find our place, and I would never expect him to get interested in the sort of crap that I'm doing. So it's horses for courses. But look, it's an interesting insight. Otherwise, I would have no sort of connection with these things. But it's all back on board. Sundays all day. Well, all morning. Well, gentlemen, I look forward to continuing having a chat, but I'll put a few records on in between. We haven't had our 20s hit. When I was walking to the footy match today, I listened to this, and I thought it sounded pretty good. It's one of Mr. Prozoot's from a while back, but a band called Slats Randall. Very slick band, I think from New York. And this track is just so well played. It goes back to 1929. Let's have a listen.
Turnips, I can't stand turnips. I hate turnips, why it's true. But if you said turnips, then I'll eat catnip. Why I'd do anything for you. Though I don't like dancing, I can't stand dancing. I hate dancing, why it's true. But if you said Joe dance, why'd even Toe dance? I'd do anything for you. Sweetheart, oh, can't you see just what you mean to me? Though I don't like liquor, I can't stand liquor, and I hate liquor, it's true. But I would drink liquor till I got chicker. I'd do anything for you.
Slick interpretation that was, the music of Slats Randall and his band on a Brunswick 78, uploaded by Mr. Prozood.
Pretty good. I
It's,
like that.
it's a great song, yeah.
Now, I've had a very exciting afternoon.
Oh, tell us, what's the
I'll
latest?
be very quick.
No, please.
Firstly, Kathy's news. Her book arrived.
Oh, marvellous, the book on Elmer.
Yes.
Really? Great.
Well, it's actually been here for a few days, but whoever delivered it put it into my walker, and we didn't realise until we came to use the walker, and we were going for a walk.
Okay.
So she's got that, and she's had it for about 20 minutes, but her first headline come through was that poor Alma wrote a suicide letter to her husband.
Oh, okay. Oh, gosh, that's really tragic. And that letter's reproduced in the book, is it?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, gosh, that would be hard reading.
Yes, indeed.
It's, for those who don't know the story, Alma Moody was an Australian violinist and related to Frank's wife, Kathy. And she lived in the first part of the 20th century, and she was an extraordinary force. I think she was born in Broken Hill, was it?
It was outback Queensland. Was it Mount Morgan? Or
It might be
like
Mount Morgan, that's right. And she just showed extraordinary talent and was sent over to Germany and studied with Carl Flesch, who was probably the most revered teacher in the world, and became his favourite pupil. And she was just a player of the highest accord. Had an extraordinary Australian success story for a short while until the Nazis came to power, and then things sort of very quickly changed. And she married a fellow who became involved with the Nazi Party, and of course this sort of led to her demise. But sadly, there are no recordings of Alma Moody. Her zenith was really in the early 1920s, and it would be just great if something turned up. But sadly, very few women were to record, particularly in Europe. A few more in Britain, interestingly, but not a lot in Europe. And
that's interesting.
yeah, there's a lot actually. I've got a number of English recordings of female performers. But in Alma's instance, it didn't happen. But she premiered many works, and including the Fitzner Concerto and other things. And there's been a lot of research, and a prominent Melbourne academic, Kay Dreyfus, the former partner of George Dreyfus, wrote a book on, was written a couple of books, I think, on Alma Moody.
Yeah, he has.
She has, yeah. So that's the background to it. And so this new book has just come out, and that's what Frank's referring to, and of her letters. So, yes, no, I'm aware that she did commit suicide, but I think the circumstances were just completely impossible. And she had to meet. I don't know how she was able to express herself in that environment, especially when so many great Jewish players were very quickly left Germany.
Indeed.
And
it was a shame she couldn't have left.
Yes, I think if she had left, if she'd been able to leave, and she probably would have had different support opportunities and not been aligned as she was. And I mean, Carl Flesch, her teacher, was a Jewish man. So, yeah, the story of Alma Moody. Look, we'll have to, particularly on the late night Friday sessions, Frank, maybe you can read some of the letters or give us.
Yeah. We'll get something together.
Yeah, look, it'd be great.
Kathy to read them onto a recording.
Yes, we could. Look, that'd be great. Just one here and there, and we'll keep that topic open because it's a remarkable Australian story, and a fiddle player who just really rode the high wave. There were so many just raving accolades for Alma Moody, and but because she didn't record and because she was caught up in the Anschluss, it was a very sad ending to her life. About 1942, I think she passed away.
Something like that.
Yeah, right in the middle of the war. Shocking. So, yeah, look, thanks for sharing that. Yeah.
Now, the other thing that I did will, I hope, probably form another basis for a Friday night
Yes.
session.
Yes.
I think I might have mentioned to you that at one time, a few months ago, at a radio amateur old timers meeting, I met a woman who was playing piano.
Oh, yes. He's the partner of one of the members of the group, I think.
Yeah, that's
you
right.
mentioned.
And she's called Judith Lamden, Lamden.
Okay, yes.
And she's made records. She made a lot of records on the Move label.
Oh, okay.
And she's studied with Gustav Leonhardt, and she's been to Europe, and she's a concert pianist.
Wow, fantastic.
Anyway, I met her at the last meeting a couple of weeks ago, and she gave me another CD that she's made of some Bach keyboard toccatas that I didn't know about.
Oh, right, okay.
And the Italian concerto.
Oh, tremendous.
Anyway,
yeah.
I looked today on YouTube, and there's quite a lot of her on YouTube.
Okay.
She's not your ordinary Bach player. She uses a lot more rubato.
Oh, good.
And it's not to everyone's taste, but I love it.
Oh, I'd love it. I like Bach's music with attitude.
Well, she does it beautifully, and so if you get the odd minute, have a listen and see what you think.
I will. I'm going to write her name down here on the pad because I've got a memory like a sieve, and I do recall that we spoke about her.
Yeah.
Now,
Dave would have heard her because he was at the meeting.
Yeah, sure. Okay. And her name again? Judith
Lamden, Lamden.
It's on the pad, so I'll look her up online, and at some point we could perhaps arrange to exchange files, and we'll dedicate something.
Oh yeah,
to it. Yeah. Here's some of it. I'd love to hear her playing Bach. I think Bach needs to breathe and needs space, and it would be great.
She does it beautifully. She's a very, very nice woman. She's not at all egotistical. And,
of course.
But if you read her CV, it is quite remarkable. She's taught at the College of the Arts.
Okay.
She's been an AMEB examiner.
Right.
She's done lots of things.
Oh, tremendous. Oh, that's good. Thank you.
Spent a lot of time in England and Europe playing.
Okay. Yeah, well, these are themes we can certainly unpack on the late Friday sessions. I'd like to hear her, and I'd like to.
I think she'd make a very interesting.
Yeah, I think so. It's good to look at local talent. Maybe she might come on and chat with us. You never know. Could work out something.
Anyway, that's my lot.
That's all good. And the Alma Moody story is certainly one we'll need to. You never know if they can. Perhaps someplace there is a recording of her. Maybe a magnetophone, early tape machine recording.
Perhaps you could just play one thing from the tube.
Yes,
I'm very curious to know what you think of her.
Yeah. Okay, I can do that. I can look her up.
I was listening to her playing the Bach partitas.
Okay. Oh, so that's on the tube, is it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll just look her up right here and now. So here I have my iPad at my lap.
Judith sort of throws away the metronome, but
Judith Lamden, and Judith Lamden and Bach. We'll hear a bit of Bach, folks. Bach partitas. Here we go. Shall we listen to one of those?
Yes, please.
Yeah. All right. We'll hear one. And I think I'll just have to, whoops, sorry. I'll have to just go with the deferral process here. It's a little convoluted, but it's the way I've sort of done things, and it sort of works. All right, let's have a listen to her playing Partita number 1 in B-flat major. I know this worked well. I've got a recording of Maria Tipo playing this. This will be good to hear. The Prelude, the music of Bach, played by Judith Lamden. was the music of Bach. His Partita number 1 in B flat, the Prelude, played by Judith Lambden. Yeah, local talent. And yeah, beautiful, Frank. It's really nice to hear Bach played with space and very reflective and very episodal, very contained. It's
I don't think she overdoes it.
I don't know. I probably would play it a little differently myself, but that means nothing really. I always enjoy hearing, particularly. I think I would try and see a little bit more direction through the phrase, but that's I did really like what she was doing.
She just sort of lets it float, doesn't she?
She does. It's sort of, and that's got its merits too. You know, I'm not one to criticise anyone's playing. I think it's really beautiful playing, and has a very personal stamp, and any reflective playing of Bach I think is good.
Well, listen to some of her other stuff anyway. It's all sort of got that, you know, no metronome in sight sort of feel to it.
Yes, it does, and you know that's certainly valid. It's really valid, and I do look for that quality and a little bit of overarching architecture as well. In personally, when I'm sort of working playing Bach myself, but that's just my prejudice, and I thoroughly enjoyed that performance. I thought it was beautiful.
It's very refreshing, isn't it?
It is refreshing. It's great to hear. Look, music can be played anyway, and you know, it's there's no right or wrong way, and that's the great thing about particularly music like Bach, which you know, there are no recordings of Bach, thank God. So,
Right.
and he was renowned for rewriting his music and you know, reappropriating it for different ensembles and so on. And so it, I think gives tacit approval to any manner of interpretations. He got the drew together the music of other composers and revitalised it as well.
He did.
Yeah.
Look, anyway, that's
That's
I'll
terrific.
let you resume your normal program.
No, that's all good. I think it's nice to have it. Well, this might sort of give, if people liked hearing that sort of thing, this is what we do on Friday nights. Late nights, we sort of meander along and listen to a lot of classical music, and it's always an enjoyable experience, and this is no exception. So thanks for that. Judith Lambden, we'll listen out for more of it. We'll do a whole program and listen to a whole
there's
lot.
a lot more to her. You know,
Yeah.
She's a very substantial talent, I think.
Yeah, absolutely she is. There's no doubt about that. That's good. Yeah, all right. Well, we'll just go for the gear change, because I've got a record here which is patiently waiting to be played. It's been sort of pushing me along, this record. It keeps appearing in piles. I sort things out, and this record just shows up all the time. I don't know what that means, but it's an old Parlophone 78 and of Mr. H. Robinson Cleaver. I keep seeing this name jump out at me, and he's an organist, a Wurlitzer organist, and in this instance he's playing the Union Cinema organ in Bexley Heath. So English. Recording from the 1930s, but I had a sample and it's hilarious. So yeah, the big Wurlitzer playing a selection called Musical Sweethearts on Parlophone. So let's indulge. VK3SL. Oh, classic Missions fodder. That was the music of H. Robinson Cleaver on the organ, playing the Union Cinema organ at Bexley Heath back in the 30s on a very quiet Australian laminated pressing. And what character? Amazing.
What sort of organ would that be?
Oh, I think it'd be a Wurlitzer.
Sounds like a Wurlitzer.
Yeah, it sounds like a big theatre organ. Well, they're Wurlitzers, aren't they? Yes, they're big.
Yeah.
They're big instruments. So it would be a combination
pipe
of
organ.
Yes, big pipe organ. It'd be a combination of pipes and reeds, and they had sort of racks of special effects for the silent movies and so on. But I just thought that was a really characterful performance. There's super bass on that record, actually. So, excellent. Well, we'll save up side B and we'll feature that as another point. Then I'll have to file the record away so it doesn't keep reappearing. Okay, well, another one from that ancient pile I got from the second vault. This is the Mayfair Orchestra during the First World War, and it's a... let me see. I did some research on this, but I've forgotten. It's called Zigzag. It was a music review which came out during the First World War, and it was sort of a bit of a crowd pleaser. And the original review actually featured George Robey and Daphne Pollard. Now, Daphne Pollard was an Australian. She's born in Melbourne, I think, and she was part of the Pollard troupe. But interestingly, she was involved with this review, but I don't think she's on this performance. I think it's just an instrumental. It may not be. I haven't checked it, to be honest. But it's called Zigzag. It's just sort of pop music from the First World War era. And it was a big show. It was at the Hippodrome, and it went for nearly 700 performances. So we've got the original here from that time. So we'll hear just a selection from the production Zigzag. This is vk3sl.
And vk3jr and vk3op, I think. Also.
Yeah, I think Mr. Frank's there as well, and it's not starting. Hey, what's wrong with you? This thing is not doing... here we go. On board. So selections from a review called Zigzag, which came out in the 19-teens, about 1917, I think that was recorded. So one of those very heavy HMV Monarch records.
With a rim around the edge.
This one doesn't have a rim, but most records from this time do, and it sort of protects the record a little bit if people don't use covers. But this is really heavy. It weighs about twice as much as a normal 78. But they actually recorded them very well. So even had some, I reckon if you did some judicious EQ, you could get tings out of that in places.
You reckon there's something there?
I think there's something, well, you need to do it using probably software, but it has potential, I think, to revitalise. But it is the sounds. Look, it's interesting. The story behind that, here, this review was particularly to, try and bolster the spirit during the First World War.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And that's the sort of thing that people listen to. They went out and listened. And apparently the review's based on what does it say here? It's music by Dave Stamper. Lyrics by Gene Buck and additional songs doesn't matter. The review opens January 1917. And as I mentioned, it featured Daphne Pollard, which is interesting. It's an Australian connection. 648 performances. And it was the sketch was interpolated based on a musical character, the Prehistoric Man, with Pollard playing the role of She, the Tireless Tongue. Gosh, that sounds interesting. In another scene, it does rather. In another scene, he played a drunken gentleman who had accidentally secured the box at the Savoy Theatre instead of an intended hotel room. Okay, that could be rather complicated. The audience appeared unresponsive to the character, so he changed it mid-performance to that of a naive Yorkshireman. Okay, well, it goes on. It's just one of those. Something from the Edwardian era, the late Edwardian era. Well, not really, is it? It's post-Edwardian because King Edward died 1910.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyhow, that's all waffle, because we have on the other platform something much more interesting, much more generally interesting, and this is a video which has just popped up, and which is very fine for listening as well, and it's about an early electronic instrument called the Chamberlain Music Master. It was an electronic instrument, and it was the precursor to the mellotron. Now, we've done programs on the mellotron in the past, and it's used tape loops, and it was a very early form of sort of, I won't say it's not synthesized, but it's a sampled.
Sample, really.
Yeah, sampled electronic instrument, amazing instrument, mellotron. But this is its predecessor from 1962. So it's probably the only one that existed. It was probably never really went anywhere. But it set the scene, and this monster organ-looking thing is sitting on the stage, and there's a full band behind it, and the presenter gets the band to play, or get members of the band to play something, and then the instrument mirrors them. So they've got a woman playing the Chamberlain Master keyboard, and it emulates what the other musicians are doing. So, yeah, it's quite fascinating, and it's certainly exposes what was going on in the evolutionary phases of the mellotron. So let's have a listen. It's from a program called I've Got a Secret from British TV, I think. No, I think.
Got a secret.
American TV.
While Gary Moore is on a week's vacation, Henry Morgan. Good evening. Anybody? Welcome to I've Got a Secret. This is a brand new, it looks a little elderly back here. I don't know, it's an old piece of wood. But this is a brand new invention. It's called the Chamberlain Music Master. And it is absolutely revolutionary because it can sound like every instrument in the orchestra all at the same time. Fabulous thing. The people we think are most interested would be Norman Paris and his men. So would you raise the curtain, please? Now, just to get this thing in motion, Norman, would you have one of the men stand and play a little something? One instant. Southern.
Wait till I get my lip ready now.
Sure. Let's see if you can do this one.
Very good, I should think.
Ready?
I'm ready. You ready?
Think, no, it's not ready yet.
No.
It has to go plump, 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 plump. There we are.
Flute time. Listen, little rhythm section.
We'll have three players.
Well, a drum, bass, and guitar.
How about that?
How about that?
Pedal.
Pedal. One hand. One hand. Well, Norm, things aren't going so well. You want to try the full band?
The full band.
The full band.
Here we go, the big one. Try that.
Miss Ann Southern, that's a full band.
You ready?
I'm ready. I may weep.
Ann Southern, thank you a million. You're
Lovely
sweet.
to be on the program, to see all of you again.
Oh, I'm glad you had these lovely talks. Norman, you step in here. We're going to try a very interesting experiment. Good night. Good night. Thank you very much. Maestro, what can be done with this, do you suppose?
Well, first, there it is. We can do a couple of things with this. I think they're unusual. How about that, huh?
I like it. Hey, fellas, isn't that great, fellas? Hey, isn't that a great idea, guys? How do you like that? That's a real One explanation, because people are going to be going out of their minds. It works on tapes. There are about 72 different tapes in here, and they're hooked up to a keyboard, which you saw on, and the rhythm sections and the patterns are built in. You just depress a thing and it goes, and we're very grateful to the Benton Music Company. I think it was that card disappeared too. We want to thank Ann Southern. Merv Griffin, thank you very much for sitting in. Gary will be back next week. Thank you very much, and good night.
Now, Ryerson Gown by Mignon. This is George Chandler. Goats in the kitchen and cows in the bedroom. That happens on Ichabod and Me. Tomorrow on most of these CBS television stations. Drop in if you've a notion to. I've Got a Secret has been brought to you tonight by the new Polaroid 10-second automatic camera. Only 3 buttons to push. 1, 2, 3, and in just 10 seconds, a finished picture. The preceding program was pre-recorded. This is John Cannon speaking.
And there we have it, the birth of a tradition, the Chamberlain Music Maker keyboard, and which later became the Mellotron. How's that for interesting? what a sound world it could be evoked from this tape loop marvel.
Great stuff.
Yeah, you'd have to keep the heads clean, wouldn't you? It would.
Oh, very clean, and your speeds would have to be very accurate.
That's right, exactly. You'd have to, but I think the sort of the wow and the flutter is all a part of the experience.
Well, it is with the Mellotron anyway, isn't it?
I think later on they realised that it was, wildly inaccurate, and they exploited its
They did, but
eccentricities.
it's now become it's classic. I mean, there are Mellotron. You can access Mellotron libraries for synthesizers.
Isn't that incredible? So they've actually sampled the tape loops themselves, and you can just dial them up.
You do.
Yeah, complete with their lo-fi
Everything that's
attributes.
old is new again.
Well, that's right.
Well said, Frank.
Yeah, it's true.
Mellotron does have some amazing sort of peculiarities which you grow to love.
Yeah, I think that...
Well, it's even that with guitars. There's a lot of the emulations and stuff that are available now. Emulate, like as an example, the rotating loudspeakers and tremolo effects and stuff, and it's all basically emulating what was done using literal mechanical methods back then, and it's all being done digitally now.
The classic
absolutely.
the rotating Leslie speaker with its Doppler effect and phasing elements, that can all be redialed. It's staggering. But isn't it fascinating to hear? I mean, these things are mechanically so complicated. They're just full of...
When you first see a Leslie and you look inside, this thing's radiating wall.
It's madness. It's extraordinary. Well, look, I tell you what, gentlemen, I'll follow on with, there's a little Pathé newsreel about the Mellotron only a couple of years later, and I think it may be, I might be wrong, but it might be with this gentleman Chamberlain, who I think he went on to invent the Mellotron. I'm just reading about him now. And so we'll just flesh out the picture a bit further, perhaps.
The description of the Chamberlain thing, to me, was the description of the Mellotron.
Yes.
I wondered what the difference was.
So, look, let's put these two vids in sharp relief and see if we can, get some perspectives further to this. So, 2 years later, this is the Mellotron, a keyboard with the power of an orchestra, 1965.
Eric Robinson explained.
Hello there. I suppose you thought you were listening to a long playing record just then. Well, you weren't. You were listening to a new instrument that David Nixon and I have helped develop in this country. It makes the actual sounds of the orchestra. So come over and meet my son-in-law, will you? And the Mellotron. David, tell me, every time I come to your house, you're always playing this instrument.
Well, I'm a frustrated musician, Eric. I need this, you see. I've never been able to play the piano. Sorry for you, you've got an orchestra.
Well, explain how it works, please.
Well, actually, it's fairly straightforward. It's a musical computer, and as you know, Eric, the right hand is lead instruments with a choice of 18 different ones, and the left hand is rhythms in this half and backgrounds in this half, and it's all been fed onto hundreds of tape tracks.
All right, well, I suggest that you play a little simple piece. What about it?
I thought you'd never ask. My party piece. Bye-bye blues with 2 fingers and nothing up my sleeve. Well, now I'm going to add the octave in the left hand, and let's try a trombone background.
Well, that's fine, David, for the quick steps, but what about some of the other rhythms?
Here's a French accordion with a Viennese waltz.
Thank you. Well, David isn't a musician, as you know, but I have a professional pianist here who can really show you what the mellotron can do. Jeff Unwin.
There we go. Quick exit there. The keyboard with the power of an orchestra, the mellotron. I just find it fascinating that the attacks happen so quickly.
Yeah, I know. That just comes right. It doesn't.
Yeah.
It is the attack of the instrument, I'm sure.
So it's obviously
And they're tape-based, aren't they?
they're tape loops.
Totally.
That's what they are. They're cart machines, effectively, and it's like a whole bank of cart machines. And but they've got the instant grab with the pinch rollers, obviously in sort of.
Wow, I wonder. You'd imagine it must treat the tape sort of kind of harshly. If it's
That's the thing. I imagine they'd sort of wear out. You'd sort of start to get really wowie after a while.
tape,
Yeah, that's right.
They're obviously all going all the time.
Yeah, but
I mean, otherwise there'd be a pickup.
That's right. Exactly.
Delay while it got to speed.
Yeah, totally. But
I guess that's the limitation on the number of voices you could have, isn't it? It'd be dependent on the number of carts.
yes,
right.
but it didn't actually use carts. It used a quite a short tape loop. I think the tape loop's about 2 or 3 feet, and so I suppose the tape loop's very.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
But it'd have to be tensioned. So I think it had a spring tensioner at the bottom, so the tape loop was always ready. But I suppose because there wasn't so much bulk, it probably wouldn't fatigue as quickly.
Yeah, because they used a different. Like there was a series of tape machines that Ampex made for videotape
Right.
on 2-inch format, the quad machines.
Yep.
So they're rotating head scanner that striped. Hang on, I'll turn that down a little bit because I'm not using headphones to isolate.
sure.
So they would stripe 16 lines per head pass as they rotated, you know, and you couldn't do slow-mo or anything on them.
Right.
But they also had quite a long lock-up time. But Ampex solved it with 2 machines, the AVR1, which is a huge deck, and another machine called an ACR25, which played carts of this 2-inch wide tape that was 6 minutes long, or in a big carousel and with 2 transports.
Yes.
And they actually had vacuum columns.
Ah.
And so instead of having your normal capstans, what they did is they basically sucked the tape out of the mechanism with vacuum.
Yes.
And so you got this great big loop in the vacuum column that then doubled back. And what happened is when you pressed play, the quick take-up was just fed by the vacuum, you know, the tape in the vacuum column diminishing and then slowly coming back.
Yes, it was sort of active.
And they would lock up in 300 milliseconds.
How about that? Well, that's really interesting. I do recall seeing one of those cart machines, one of Dave's videos.
Probably the ACR25, that big carousel.
Yes,
had 25
that's right.
cassettes.
That's it.
They were a monster, those things.
Right. Were they reliable?
To a degree, I used to vision switch a bit, and what they did is, in commercial stations, they use those for the commercial runs.
Yes.
But what we did is we would have literally one news item on each cassette. You could actually program up a sequence, so they would play out, you know, they'd play on the A transport, then switch to B, and while B was playing, A would be ejected and another one would load, and it would all happen very quickly.
Right, so how many could you have in situ?
There are 25 in the carousel.
In the carousel,
carousel weighed about 3/4 of a tonne. rotating around, and it was
That's
noisy
extraordinary.
because of all the air
Yeah.
compressors and everything for the
Yeah.
bearings and the suction columns and stuff.
Sure.
But the problem was that every now and again they'd go into test mode, which means you lost a lot. And it was a videotape operator's nightmare.
Oh no!
So
Could you
we'd have to go back
could you
to this sort of
extract?
multi-reel backup.
Because you probably couldn't position yourself
So I'm
midstream.
wondering if they, in these machines, if they had some sort of a slack loop like that emulated that allowed the tape to take up quickly without stretching or damaging it.
Well, that's it. I think there must have been some degree of control to preserve the tape, because otherwise the machines would wear out very quickly.
If you think the Ampex ones were bad, work on an RCA. They were terrible, all mechanical and
Were they?
arms poking out and stuff.
Oh,
They're
really?
like a cheap version of the Ampex. They're a luxury compared to the RCA cassette machine, but they're amazing devices, as Frank was saying.
Right.
I've got an Ampex 2000 head here, which I
Really?
must rev up sometime.
Yes. Make a video about it.
Box and everything.
Yes, indeed.
I've got a complete D2 machine in the garage.
Right.
It's a cassette. It's PAL, but it records on the tape in digital format.
Okay. Fair enough. Well, let's look, you should make videos about these things, because it's all technology that's lost to a new generation.
They have no idea. Now, do you have a problem earlier on with audio and stuff?
When I first came on, I accidentally had the stream on, but I was testing early on, but I realised I had the emitters on, but not the carrier. And
yes, I noticed I was getting distorted
yes,
audio only.
so it suddenly dawned on me that was happening, because I had the stream going, but I was on a video call, and I was sort of multitasking, and it suddenly dawned on me that I was doing other stuff. So yes, that was interesting. But we've talked about that phenomenon before. It's sort of like a sidebandy effect,
yeah, it's
isn't it?
interesting. Yeah,
But I can see the carrier. When it did happen, when I did notice it, I thought it was someone else testing on the band before, and then I realised it was me just queuing stuff up, and yeah. But I did notice there was a carrier. There was, you could see a carrier there, but maybe not. I don't know. It looked like it, but it can't have been anything. It probably was. It was so suppressed that. That had no bearing on things. But, interesting. So there, I'll make sure that doesn't happen next time. I tend to let things warm up for a little bit first, and then I was suddenly distracted with a call, but interesting one. Yeah, the mellotron and all these early electronic instruments, be fascinating to sort of see one in reality, and to see the processes actually engaging. And but I think it is a pinch roller in close profile to the tape, and I think that it's just a quick grab sort of thing. But when you heard that virtuoso player earlier, he was doing incredible things.
That was amazing, because I could not detect any latency, and when it was perfectly in rhythm.
Yeah, it was. He was doing these big sort of flourishes and things, and it was all sort of bubbling away there. It sounded like a Hammond organ.
Did so.
Yeah, so that would be pushing the thing to its limits, I would you'd think.
Tapes would wear out quickly.
You'd think they would. But I think there's not that many mellotrons in really good working condition, and I think most of them that are sort of mellotron emulators of the kind that Frank was mentioning earlier. So I don't know. I remember we sort of fleshed this topic out quite a bit a couple of years ago in the early days, and there's quite a few videos about them, but I have a feeling there are not a huge number in working condition. They'll be just a big thing to service. Imagine.
I think there was more than one iteration of the mellotron.
Right. Yeah, I think there was.
It must have been a relatively large machine too.
Yeah, they're big things, and they're the size of a very large Hammond organ.
So much to go wrong with them.
Yeah, that's it exactly, and failures would be fairly catastrophic, I imagine. You'd have you'd chew the tape up, and have to find replacements, and it wouldn't be easy. And yes, just a big cart machine. Multi-level, 88 keyboard, 88 key cart machine. Lots of mechanics. Yeah,
Do you have any idea how many notes they were limited to at once? Like polyphony?
I think you could do anything. You could play. You certainly could. There's no limit in that, in that
so
sense.
at least 10 fingers worth.
Oh, that's right, indeed, at any point. And so, yeah, you would have probably used a washing machine motor, I would imagine.
I think there's a 30-second limit of how long the note can be played because it gets to the end of the tape.
Yes, that's
Probably
true.
break the tape or something.
Yes, it might. Yes, although it was a loop, so potentially it could keep going. But
I don't think they were loops.
Weren't they?
They were finite.
Oh, that's right. You are spot on because
How
they
do you
had.
get back to the beginning?
It only had 30 seconds. That's right. I remember this now, and it has a spring that fires the thing back up at the end.
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
Is it back?
It's just a single. It's not a loop.
I was about to say because the rewind time would kill you.
Yeah, it's got a spring release arrangement that draws the tape back up to its starting position. But
I mean, staccato, it wouldn't work very well.
well, that's what. But the thing is, that fellow before was playing really quickly.
See, that's where it's a pity. It wasn't more like, say, the 8-track cartridge design where you just auto reverse and then you have it on the other side, so you just go up and down sort of thing. You know?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. So interesting one. Well. There's a lot of Mellotron information. They've sort of got a cult following, really, because of their signature sound and how it influenced pop music. I was trying to dial up what the first recording using it. It was It wasn't James Brown. It was Graham Bond, but not the Artie Jack Graham Bond. No, a different Graham Bond.
Rip your bloody arms off.
Yeah, that's right. A different Graham Bond, but I'll have to look into it because there's no easy sort of reference there. It's there's a lot of his recordings, but you never know which is the right one. But it'd be good. We should revisit the theme, and because there's always new information out there, and but fascinating stuff.
Now I've broken into a new technology.
Oh yes.
I was at Office Works the other day, and they're selling $15, wireless earbud things.
Oh yes.
Poke in your ear.
Mm-hmm.
And then I thought, look, you can't tell anything from 50. So I bought like a mid-range $60 unbranded set.
Yes.
Tell you what, they're not bad. In fact, they sound probably as good as any headphones I've got.
Mm.
And they poke in your ear, and they
Yep.
connect to your phone, and you just walk around, you hardly know they're there.
That's right.
They are, I thought they're a stupid idea, but I can see the possibilities, no cords and things that get
Oh,
caught
look
up.
at everyone here uses them.
I've got a good set of Bose ones that are amazing.
Yeah.
The bottom end response out of them is incredible, and the noise cancelling is just. I've got to the point now where if I'm using something like say the brush cutter or a tool like that, instead of wearing the normal hearing protection, I actually wear these because the noise cancelling actually kills the audio of the tool better than just the earmuffs.
Yes, I remember this being a discussion point some time ago. Those Bose ones with the noise cancelling feature, and
brilliant, with especially at the low end, aren't they?
Yeah, well,
I'm amazed. And the great thing is the little case you put them in has its own battery in it.
Yeah.
And you get something like 3 or 4 recharges. So when you're travelling, you just pop them back in and they recharge. And
yeah, I use them a lot. Yeah, I got the JCar El Cheapo versions here, and they haven't got great bass, but they do work very well, and they're fine for, just you can walk around the house.
The amazing thing is with the bass, I put a frequency generator app on the phone, and bass, it's amazing. You can hear bass, not just hear like distortion from the products of a bad, distortion products, but real hearing, percepting bass, right down to 16 hertz. Then it drops off, which I think is the lowest range of a massive pipe organ, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
So it's probably chosen for that. So it seems like your hearing does drop off below 16 hertz. You can't.
Yeah.
What you hear is more of a distortion of the.
Well, it's more felt than heard.
But at 16 hertz, you actually feel a thumping in your head like a real tone.
Yeah.
And
it's like a binaural beat.
Yep, and they go up to I can detect 12K. I mean, above that, my hearing isn't that good, but they probably go right up.
Yes.
And If you've got to poke them right in the ear, though, that's the trouble.
Yes, you've got to have a sealed thing, don't you? Is that right? Is that?
Yeah, otherwise you lose all the bass.
That's right. It needs to be sealed.
Got to be totally
Yes, airtight. Well, it's the same principle as using those 1920s drivers, really. If you seal it and keep it close to the membrane.
That's right, yeah, you could have one of those stuck in the ear. It's quite interesting. And,
it is.
Look, maybe I should test, maybe the $15 ones are okay as well, I don't know.
Yeah, well, look, I think it's certainly what everyone's using, and I'd like to get a pair of those Bose ones with the noise cancelling. It's on my list of things to get, because I think noise cancelling headphones would be a real bonus.
High-end Sonys that are, I think, about as good as the Bose. They're really good.
Sure. Yeah.
Look, I've got a set of Bose noise cancelling. We used to use them when we went on flights and things.
Yeah.
I actually, after a few minutes, I sort of get a headache with noise cancelling. It sounds like it's sucking the air out of your head, you know?
Yeah.
And I really don't like them compared to standard headphones.
Fair enough. It's a very personal thing, and I know what you're saying, because I never had the high-end ones, but I had a pair because I used to do a lot of public transport back in the late 90s, and I used to find that I'd get a headache from that sort of suck out. Maybe
That's right. It's abnormal.
Yeah, it's just another. It's like digital artifacts. It's not quite a prescient sound.
It's a weird sensation. It's a little bit like an
anechoic chamber.
Yeah.
Like that. I think that's what
Now, we were talking about this the other night. I'd like to experience an anechoic chamber.
It's strange.
Yeah, and
you walk through the door and your own voice level drops dramatically, and it's quite bizarre.
It would be an extraordinary experience.
Drive you mad, Frank.
Well, it'd be interesting to spend a fair amount of time in one, but we played around in training. We went into one, and it's amazing like how noticeable the effect is.
Well, that's an excursion.
Creepy.
I'd like to experience that. It's on my bucket list of things to experience, and so in the one that you experienced there, Frank, was it? Did it have like a wire cage floor, so you had the three-dimensional sort of experience?
It was. Well, it was all of the weird sort of shape panelling and stuff that,
Yes, they have these big wafers everywhere, don't they?
And so it was, once you walked in and pulled the door, you just were that's, I think, the other thing too, in your visual, you were looking at this strange pattern all around you that was a bit unnatural as well.
Yeah.
I wasn't unnerved by it, but it was just, you certainly noticed how much of we hear of ourselves is dependent on the environment. Like all of a sudden you remove all the reflections, and yes, you still hear yourself coupled inside your own head, but at vastly reduced levels.
Yeah, fascinating. I'd love to try playing an instrument. Well, yes, that's right.
I expected it to be just like being in a very, very open outdoor space, but it's not.
Yeah, I think you always will get some, particularly from the ground, from the floor. There's something that comes back.
But I found it very unnerving because I'm used to I rely a lot on getting sound impressions from bouncing off of things.
Yes, that's right. You'd be acutely attuned to that. And so it would be...
You got your own form of sonar.
Yeah, that's right.
It's fascinating. And as we've said before, I mean, Frank, you've shared that experience of you had a MRI and your visual cortexes light up when you're listening to sound, aren't they?
Yes, I'm very dependent on it.
Yeah, it's quite fascinating. But I don't know where you can find an anechoic chamber.
I think, this one was in Melbourne. I'm trying to remember where it was now. It'll still be there, but
I wouldn't mind booking a session. I don't care if
it's worth going to. I can't even remember where I had the experience. It's surprising because the experience left a huge impression on me.
Yeah, I just think it'd be a really interesting thing to experience. It'd just be something that it would be a real perception shift.
Just expect the unexpected.
Yeah. I'd love to play music. I find that playing an electric instrument, I just so rely on the aural cues, the resonances and the resonance of the instrument, how it comes alive, the feeling of it, the instrument I play, and the reflections. When I play an electric instrument, which is inert, and this is a little bit like what guitarists would experience all the time, it's a really, really foreign experience. I overplay drastically. I really massively overplay because I'm trying to get something out of the, which is impossible because there's no resonating chamber on these electric instruments. So there's another case of displaced expectations, I suppose. But all a fascinating subject. Yeah, all right. Well, maybe we can. I'm certainly keen to look more at electric instruments and antecedents to the synthesizer, and it would be great to redress that whole thing. So these missions actually started off with interest in Delia Derbyshire, and we played a lot of her recordings and early sort of oscillator-based sort of things, and I'd like to keep coming back to it because there are other sound worlds out there, and that's why I keep needling you, Mr. JR, to get your studio going.
Yeah, I know, right?
So
hang in there.
Yeah, well, it's all interesting, and there's creating sounds that just don't occur naturally. But look, here we go. I've got a world transcription record here that I should play one of these, and I changed the stylus before, so I think we're right to go. It's Ray Block, and I'll hold it up to the. Here we go. The Girl I Left Behind Me, Bright Foxtrot. Yeah, these are made by 2GB for AWA. There's a whole stack of them here, and they came from Ralph Knight's estate, and they looks like they're here to stay. So we'll continue to enjoy them, bits and pieces. So here we have a transcription record from 1950 Mumble. Track called Dancing Tambourine. That's not what I thought it was. It was Ray Block and his orchestra on a world transcription record. The problem with these 16-inch records is they take up so much space. But they're fun to play and they're a little bit specialised. And I'm just riffing through the pile. There's a whole stack of them here. And here's one with Les Paul and his trio. Now, we have played these in the past, but bit of water's passed under the bridge since we had our last Les Paul feature, so we can hear another. What do you reckon, Frank?
Oh, absolutely.
Well, we've got Just Me, Avalon, Caravan, Sleepy Time Girl, and Take Me Out to the Ball Game.
Take me out to the ball game.
All right, okay. It's the last track on the record. We'll slap it on. Something like a 16-inch record on a big buyer. Here we go. We're in the groove, and I think we're ready to start. How about that? That is just magic.
See, apart from his technical prowess and innovation, he could actually play the guitar.
He could. He could really play the guitar. And it's fascinating hearing these records, which before he moved into his multi-tracking and all of that. This is early days. And he is a top-line jazz player.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, really top of the pack. I mean, that's just excellent playing. He's on the front of the beat. He's inventive. It's
big
full
chords.
of yeah, indeed, full of character and exploratory. Uses the entire range of the fingerboard. He's a force to be reckoned with, Mr. Paul. Look, we'll play another one, I think, from this. I always
As many as you like.
Yeah, look, let's go with it. Let's hear. I'll just jump in. I can't even be bothered reading the label. We'll just cue it up and find out. Listening to music of Les Paul, the early recordings of Les with his trio made in the very early 1950s on the World Program Transcription Service records.
On this program, the magic of microgroove that I talk about from time to time, that I listened to in about 1951.
Wow.
They had a microgroove of the Les Paul Trio.
Did they? How interesting. Well, we'll have to investigate. Perhaps it's available online. It would be good. Maybe.
I'm almost certain that's right.
Yeah,
I was
sure.
very young lad at the time.
Yeah, but impressionable nevertheless. It's
Indeed I was.
That's great. Yeah, well, that's nice to know. I mean, they certainly did make records from the. I think he started recording in about 1946, and his zenith was in the mid-50s when he did his groundbreaking multi-tracking. But just really, he's a really chill player, jazz player. He's just got the feel. Reminds me a lot of the Nat King Cole Trio. Listening to these.
Yeah, very much. That's good call. Yeah, it is a lot like that.
Yes, I had my daughter Beatrice come up to me the other day and said, "Dad, I've been listening to these records online of this guy called Nat King Cole." And I said, "Right, yes." And then I thought, no, I don't want to get too enthusiastic.
She's got very good taste for it.
It's just, I just love it. I've been listening, and I thought, wow, well, that's a good sign. So
she's ahead of the game.
Well, I hope so. I think it started with Natalie Cole, and then she sort of moved one step back. And
she's her dad.
That's right. So that's good to hear. Well, look, there's more here. There's a recording of Caravan. I remember this was really good. I'll just check which track it is. It's such a great song, Caravan. Here we go. I'm just holding it up. And what can I tell you about these? It says recorded by 2GB, processed by AWA. They're just 16-inch vinyls, little locked grooves, so you could cue them up. I haven't got great queuing facilities on this 16-inch, but that's okay. Here we go. Track number C is Caravan. So all you have to do is just count them. 1, A, B, C. I think we're right. The Les Paul Trio and his rendition of Duke Ellington's Caravan. Locked grooves, so I don't have to worry about it moving on to the next track. All very convenient. That was good fun. Well, there's only one or two Les Pauls in this big stash, so yeah, but lots of other things, so we'll jump on board and explore those in due course, I think. But it's getting to that time of the day. Oh, before we go, I have to say I did some work on my Dragon speaker today, which I picked up yesterday, and I've got it back with me. This 1924 horn loudspeaker with the pedals. They call them Dragon speakers because they sort of, I don't know. Even my daughter said it looks like a dragon's mouth, so apparently it does.
Okay.
But I like industrial design that emulates nature, and these really do. They've got a big flare, not unlike an early gramophone horn, quite a big flare. And this one's in reasonable condition. It's not in perfect condition, but I just did a very light buffing of it today, and it's come up really, really well. It looks fantastic. So, yeah, it's got a feature position in the on the mantelpiece now, this 1924 Dragon horn, and it works. I even just got a little impedance matching transformer and tried it out with the iPhone, and sure enough, you can hear it. So that's a good sign. It's not open circuit. So yeah, that's a fun project. But I've always wanted a Dragon horn because they're a wooden pedal, and back in the day they would have been quite hard to make, and they just look good.
What are you going to do with it?
Oh, it's just a piece of something.
Have it there.
Yes, just like an ornament.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. I didn't mention it to the powers that be here because I thought, they're just not going to like it. And then I sheepishly showed someone and I said, look at this. And then Kate had a look and she said, yep, I think it looks really beautiful. So
that was really what was behind my question as to whether you'd cleared all that.
Yes, there's a few hurdles, and I'm a little bit careful with that sort of thing because it's easy for the house to turn into a museum. And I mean, it's okay in this room. But look, my family are extraordinarily tolerant, extraordinarily so. But I don't want to push it too much. But this was a welcome addition, so it looks really nice. And it's hopefully, I'd like to have it such that it'd be nice with maybe with a Bluetooth something. It'd be great to be able to just dial something up and make it work.
A great talking point.
Yeah, well, it is, and it's history, it's living history. And, they're beautifully made. But as Dave said, they're just bandpass filters. They don't really sound that great. But I've just had a bit of a look online, and someone's put together a series of V-discs from this just after the Second World War of recordings of the Les Paul Trio. And it's a stack of recordings.
Great.
So I think we'll just ride out with this for a while.
Perhaps we could play some more of them on a Friday.
We could. Indeed we could. Yeah, but I'll continue now. I'll need to wind up myself and go in and deal with dinner missions.
I've got to go and eat as well.
Yeah, and so we can just play this while I'll listen to it while I'm cooking the pasta. And look, I should be... Things get a little bit complicated for the next 2 weeks because I'm lining up... I'm trying to sort of go away as much as possible.
Oh, yeah, you should.
Doing another High Plains walk, and Kate and I are doing a bike ride somewhere, and we're going to Inverloch. There's quite a lot happening next holidays, but I don't think it happens in earnest until after Friday. So I should be around Friday night and Friday afternoon, and then after that time, it'll be, we'll just have to watch this space, I think. So, anyhow, that's good. So we'll thank you to all contributors, to you, Frank, and to Mr. OP and Mr. Stew, and we'll see what we can do here. We'll dial up some more Les Paul. These are off V-discs, which are notoriously sort of average quality reproduction.
What does V signify?
V as in victory discs.
Victor. Oh, yes, the war thing.
Yeah, they're wartime issue.
Yeah, sure.
And they're on a very light plastic, early vinyl, 78s. And but someone's found a whole lot of them and put them together, and so we can just have a listen to this. So thanks again, and we'll look forward to everyone's company, maybe not, whatever, in the next little while, hopefully next Friday.
You bet.
Okay, thanks. Have a great week, and we'll speak soon.
Yeah, you too, vk3sl, clear.
And vk3sl saying cheers for now.
Hello, men. This is Les Paul and the Les Paul Trio coming your way on V-Disc. This is our first chance to make some recordings for you, and we hope that you like them.
This is a test transmission from vk3sl.
Hello, men. This is Les Paul and the trio from Hollywood. We have a special V-Disc record session here for a swell bunch of guys. We want you to hurry home, and we hope you like our choice of selections.
This is a test transmission from vk3sl.
take it. We're dragging.
is a test transmission from VK3.
Folks, I'll have to wind it at this point. You've been listening to the Les Paul Trio, recordings made for V-Disc back in the 1940s. And we'll look forward to your company next week. vk3sl saying cheers for now.